This video was made possible by EA Game Changers.
Do you wanna play?
Hello everyone, it's your girl xViva and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to yet another video about cottage living. In case you didn't know, there is a brand new expansion pack that's coming out for The Sims 4 very soon called Cottage Living, and me being an EA Game Changer, I was lucky enough to get my hands on it early with some early access and was able to play around with the pack and get all this information for y'all. So this is video number 4. If y'all haven't watched video 1, 2, and 3, it'll be linked somewhere on the screen in the description. You need to go back and watch them so you don't miss any of this information that I'm giving y'all about this brand new pack that's coming out very soon. So in this video, we're going to go over gardening and how there's some new crops that we can grow, and also growing oversized crops, and how kids can now do some gardening. And we're going to go over canning, and we're going to go over the new skill of cross stitching. So hopefully y'all are excited about this video. So before we get started, just want to make some disclaimers like I always do. You will see my origin ID bouncing around on the screen for legal reasons, and also the footage that you're seeing, the software is not final and it is subject to change before the pack come out. So let's go ahead and jump into some more cottage living. If you're excited, go ahead and like up the video. If you're new around here, go ahead and subscribe, and also make sure that you hit the bell. Make sure you have on your post notifications so you won't miss any of this news about cottage living, because I believe I might got 1 or 2 more videos left after this one. Just saying, you don't want to miss it. So let's go ahead and get into some cottage living footage. Okay, so let's talk about gardening. So of course, gardening is not a new skill. It's been in the game since pretty much the beginning, and you know that you can max out your gardening skill at level 10. Now gardening has not changed at all, so if you've been gardening with your Sims before, you'll be just fine when it comes to cottage living. Nothing changed. They just added a few other things into it to just kind of enhance it a little bit, like a smidge, really not that much. So we should be looking at my early game footage of when I first started playing. So on my lot, my home, or my lot I should say, already had these new garden patches that you would get with cottage living. You could buy them in build and buy. I believe the lot had 3 of them. I'm not looking at the footage, but you could buy them from build and buy. There's 2 different versions of them. I believe the ones that I was using, which I like out of the 2 different ones, are the mounded in-ground garden patches, and then there's another garden patch which is like kind of smooth, kind of flat, don't have like a raised mounded texture to it. So I prefer the in-ground mounded one. So once you get one of these garden patches, you could click on them and you're able to plant oversized crops. You're able to purchase seeds or purchase oversized crop seeds, and you're able to purchase oversized crop fertilizers. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward, just how gardening has always been. You need to purchase the seeds and then you plant them, and then you tend to your plants, you water them, and you weed them, and you talk to them, and you harvest. You're just waiting for your stuff to start growing, basically. So you're able to purchase all of these things from these garden patches, but you also able to head to the garden shop in Finchwick and also purchase these things such as your seeds and your fertilizers and things like that. You could also get these things from being a reward for completing an errand, which I will talk about maybe in the next video. You could also get these items gifted to you from a townie in a form of a Finchwick favor, which I showed that in, I think, video number 1 or 2. No, video number 2, how I show you that your townies could come up to you and gift you, and it could be some of these items in that package that they give you. You can also obtain oversized crop fertilizers while you're cleaning your animal sheds and your chicken coops. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to skip to the fact that not only can your teen and adult Sims garden like they always could, your kid sims or children sims, your children, they can also help with gardening as well. Now, unlike them being able to join group cooking where they need adult sims or teen sims to help them, they can garden alone. So you could have them to help you, or they could just go ahead and flat out garden on their own, make it like a chore for them if you want that to be. If that's how you run your household, you want your kids to have more chores to do, which I completely understand. But when you first try to have your kids to do some type of gardening, they're not able to do that. Let's say you have a very fresh, brand new child sim that don't have any type of skills. They can't garden just right away. In order for your kids to start gardening, they have to get up their mental skills. So when they first out there, the only thing they're able to do is just kind of be social with the crops. They can only like talk to them, ask them questions, etc. They can't do no watering, no weeding, no harvesting, none of that. So in order for them to be able to do that, you have to get up their mental skill. And a few ways to get up their mental skills, even though there's a good few amount of ways to get up their mental skill, which by the way, mental skill is only a special skill for child sims. But in order to get up their mental skill, the easiest way is just to have them to do their homework and do extra credit with their homework every single day. That would get up their mental skill. Have them to read a book. That's another way. Have them be on their computer and they could do like research or browse like kid type websites. That would get up their mental skill as well, because all of these things are putting them in the focus mood, is what's building up their mental skill. Also, if you had like the little kid science table, had them work on that, that will boost up their mental skill as well. So once they start gaining a little bit of mental skill, the first thing they'll be able to do gardening wise is watering, which is a big help, because like I said, gardening and taking care of your crops every day is a big job. So if you have a sim family, it's best for them to work together to get that gardening job done. So the kids helping out is a big plus. Having them water while your other sims like weed or harvest is good, evolving as well, which is a good thing. So it's really helpful, and it's so cute. It's a cute like family interaction of everybody being in the garden helping out, which is cool. So as you continue to get up your mental skill, your kids will unlock more abilities to do something in the garden. They will unlock the ability to eventually start weeding, harvesting, and etc. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to evolve as well, but you're only able to do certain things in the garden as your gardening skill level up as well. Don't forget that, because you know, like as your crops are growing, you're not able to really evolve until you hit, I think, at least like level 3 or 4 in gardening. And then also your crop has to be at the stage of where it's able to evolve into better quality as well. That's about kids being very helpful in the garden as well, because like I said at the beginning, it might be a little rough, and having kids to help you out with the gardening is a big plus until you unlock and befriend wild birds and rabbits to also come and help you take care of your garden as well. But the kids, they still got some jobs to do, because the wild animals don't do everything. So you still need to get out there in your garden and, you know, make it flourish, make it great. So I believe now I'm going to talk about oversized crops, and I believe that's the last thing I'm going to talk about in this little section of gardening. So oversized crops, you can purchase the seeds for those, like I said before, from the garden patches. Now, when it comes to these garden patches, you're only able to plant one thing at a time. I forgot to mention that. But also on each patch, you're only able to plant regular crops or oversized crops, because you could plant like 4, I believe 4. I could be wrong because I'm not looking at it. I believe you're able to plant like 4 regular crops on a garden patch. But if you're planting oversized crops, they will take up the whole garden patch, if that makes sense. So you can either have one or the other. So you can purchase oversized crop seeds. There are 5 different crops that you're able to grow to an oversized appearance, and those are, we have aubergine, aka eggplant. I'm not even going to call it aubergine, it's eggplant. You know when you see it, it's eggplant. Nobody says aubergine, okay? There is lettuce, mushroom, pumpkin, and watermelon. And these are the only things that are able to grow to be oversized. Now, when I was doing this, my crops did not get to the biggest size that they could be. I don't know, because I didn't play long enough, but they was really just a medium size. And I'm gonna say a little bit of it, but you will see footage of it later on in one of the other videos, that there is a oversized crop fair, and I thought my crops were kind of big, but little did I know mine were actually pretty small, because the oversized crops they had were huge. And I'm like, darn, why mine aren't that big? So I guess I really didn't let them sit there and grow for that long, but they really didn't get huge enough. So I don't know if they didn't have enough space to grow, or they just needed a lot more time to sit there and grow to become larger. But also, there's a lot of new recipes and things that you can cook with these new crops that we have, that it's so many new recipes and dishes to cook in cottage living that I really wish that I sat down and really like wrote them all down and I could tell y'all how many there are, but it's so many. And mind you that there's also a whole bunch of lactose free dishes as well, from dishes that we already had. It's a lot. It's a lot, y'all. So it's like you could use the pumpkin to make pumpkin pie and other things. You could use the watermelon to make watermelon salad and fruit salads. There's different type of mushrooms. There's different type of mushroom soups. It's like a lot, and I really wish that maybe somebody would break it down so I could show y'all eventually all the different dishes, but it's a lot. And also one last thing is that unlike regular crops, you know, like say that you grow some regular mushrooms, some blueberries, some raspberries, which I do have in my garden, you could harvest them and then they will regrow and you could harvest them again. But with oversized crops, once you harvest them, you have to replant more seeds in order to get another one. They don't regrow. So I think I covered pretty much everything with gardening. It's just the same as before. Get your seeds, plant them, take care of them, let them grow, and then harvest those items. And then you could use those items to cook dishes for your Sims, or you can sell those items for money. Like I said, you're going to be living off the land with this pack. So now let's go ahead and get on into canning. Okay, so let's move on to canning. Unfortunately, canning is not a new skill, but it is a new interaction that comes with cottage living alone. So canning is tied to the already cooking skill that we have in the game, which you can max out at level 10. So in order to start canning, all you have to do is click on your stove and you could click on canning. Now, in order to be able to make these canned goods, you would need the ingredients, which you can grow in your own very garden, or you could obtain them in Finchwick at the garden stall as well. Also, you don't even have to do the canning. You could already buy the canned goods at the garden stall as well. So there are 11 canned goods that you can make in cottage living. So there is meat substitute, mushroom conserve, tomato sauce, apple jam, raspberry jam, blueberry jam, blackberry jam, strawberry jam, custard, mayonnaise, and chocolate syrup. So with these canned goods, you can make them on the stove. Some of them you could just make them after you're done with the stove interaction, then you're done and you just put them out on the counter, and then some will go into your Sims inventory. Or once you're done with the stove interaction, you have to put them back on the stove in like a pot and let them boil, because some of them have to be, you know, a warm canned good, and then your Sims would get it in their inventory after that. So with these canned goods, your Sims are able to eat them straight out the jar if you want them to do so as a snacky snack. You're able to also make these canned goods and you're able to sell them to your grocery stall, or you can sell them in your Sims inventory. Or also, a lot of these canned goods are used to make certain meals. So you can make these canned goods and then you're able to make additional dish like for dinner or lunch or breakfast for your Sims. And I could tell you that I love all of this canning interaction. I think it's a nice little addition that they added into cottage living. I believe, I can't remember exactly, I believe I had my Sims to make like raspberry jam, blueberry jam, because that's what I was growing in my garden, and I just had a plethora of those berries that was really making me a good amount of money. Y'all already know that the berries be making you money for real, for real. But another thing that really makes you a lot of money in Cottage Living is milk. My cow milk tank was like my prized possession, as I said before in my previous video where I talk about all the animals and how to take care of them, is that milk is your best friend. It will be your top produce that you're selling on your farm. Milk makes you the money. Like, we had a point in time where we had no money, then all of a sudden we were just cruising. We had a good amount of money after our garden and our produce from our eggs and milks was rolling in. You will have nothing to worry about when it comes to living off the land. So yeah, that is canning. Very simple, straightforward. Love all the different amount of canned goods you can make and how they are very useful in this pack. So now let's talk about the actual new skill that came with Cottage Living, which is cross stitching. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up this video by talking about the one new skill that came with Cottage Living, and it is called cross stitching. So cross stitching is not one of those major skills that cap out or max out at level 10. It actually maxes out at level 5. So in order to start cross stitching, the only way I seen from me playing, the only way to obtain a cross stitching hoop to start cross stitching, you will have to go to the garden shop that's in Finchwick in order to buy a cross stitching hoop. There are 3 different sizes. There is small, medium, and large. And the other item that you need in order to start cross stitching is wool. So having a llama would be very beneficial when it comes to cross stitching, because you would need the wool. So you would need different color wool, not just white wool. So it would be beneficial to give your llama some animal treats, which I explained all of this in my previous video when I talked about all the animals. Give your llamas animal treats so they will change color and produce different type of wool, and you harvest those and you can use that wool for cross stitching. But you could also obtain different color wool from the garden shop as well, so you don't necessarily need a llama. You could just buy the wool, and then boom, you got your 2 things that you need: a cross stitching hoop and some wool. So all you have to do once you get those 2 things, you need to have the wool and the cross stitching hoop in your Sims inventory, and you would just click on the hoop and then you could start cross stitching. So with cross stitching, there are different stitch patterns in different categories, such as food, Sims and animals, simple, nature, phrases, and mascots, and you unlock these different patterns as your Sim progresses in their cross stitching skill. So when you're cross stitching, you will click on one of these categories and then you'll pick which one you want to do. You could do whatever size depending on the hoop that you have, and then each of the different cross stitching patterns, they'll tell you what color wool and how much wool you need in order to do that cross stitch. Now, you don't necessarily need to have all of the different color wool or the amount of wool that you need to do the cross stitching. You could just spend some millions and still be able to do that cross stitch. But if you want to reduce your cost of that from buying that cross stitch pattern, you must have the right amount of wool and the color wool that you need, so you don't have to pay that extra money to do the cross stitch pattern. So I just want that to be known. Also, you're able to obtain more cross stitch patterns as gifts from wild animals. I believe that's the only way, because that's the only way I seen when I was playing. But as you know, your wild animals are able to give you gifts, and most of the time my little wild rabbits that I had on my lot was gifting my Sims cross stitch patterns, which was really cute. There's another way to obtain cross stitch patterns to cross stitch. So once you max out your cross stitching skill, the last thing you're unlocking is stitch from reference. So you could basically take a picture of anything out and everywhere, and then your Sims are able to cross stitch that on a hoop, and it's super cute. Kids can also cross stitch as well. That's another little thing for them to do, and I believe that cross stitching is like a very cute hobby for your Sims to do, right along with knitting. The wool from your llamas will also help in reducing the cost of knitting if you have the nifty knitting pack as well, so you can knit and cross stitch as well. And when you do these cross stitching patterns, you're able to sell them and make money off of them, or you could just display them around your home. You could put them like on a shelf or a dresser or a table, or you could also make a wall mount and put them on a wall to display, to add a little bit of cute decoration to your home. But that's also another way to make money. And if you do have that nifty knitting pack, you could also sell these on, I believe it's called Plopsy or something like that, you know, the website where you're able to sell all your knitting objects that you make. You could use that as well to sell your cross stitching hoops and things like that as well. So that is all for this video. I went over gardening and I went over canning and cross stitching in this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. There is still more cottage living information for me to tell y'all and to show y'all, and I might do it 1 or 2 more videos. I have to eventually show y'all the new woohoo location. I have to talk about errands, which is a big thing in this pack. Talk about Finchwick favors. I have to go over. I forgot to talk about animal shed upgrades. I forgot to talk about that, so I could talk about that along with errands. And then I got to show y'all all the different Finchwick fairs, y'all. I attended all of them, and that's a lot of gameplay footage to show y'all of me being in these competitions. It's a lot. So yeah, come back for more information about cottage living. I still have more to show y'all. So like up this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel if you new. Follow all those links down below, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.